Hello, my name is Ryan Oates, and today I want to speak with you about a policy conversation that's been going on in the city of Lowell. If you've been following the city council closely, you can probably guess what I'm going to be speaking about, which is warming and cooling centers. I want to start this conversation by identifying the problem that warming and cooling centers aim to solve. And at the city council meeting on August 27th, Ozo talked about one woman's experience. I think he really compassionately defined what this problem is.
If you ventured into the area of South Common on Monday evening as the rain steadily was falling, you may have encountered a young lady sitting in a wheelchair with the tarp draped over her to protect her from the unforgiving elements. But we don't have to be. On this day, by the grace of God, she had two angels on her shoulders who offered her ponchos, food, or anything else that would serve to fill her immediate needs. Last winter, she wasn't as fortunate, to say the very least. Although she directly benefit from warming and cooling centers.
Would you kindly wrap up your 3 minutes?
Please just allow me. I have one more page. This is,
Yeah, because we have more speakers
please,
after you.
I understand. Please, if you just hear me out. Although she directly benefit from warming and cooling centers, the associated pain and trauma from recently having had both of her legs amputated prevented her from sharing her story here tonight. This was caused by being exposed to the harsh winter weather that is rather quickly approaching yet again.
So we know that extreme levels of heat and cold are dangerous, and people who either can't afford heating and cooling or are experiencing homelessness are the most at risk. So one solution that many cities use is warming and cooling centers. Just to give a concrete example of what this looks like, here's a clip of Lowell Fire Chief Jeff Winward back in February of 2016. He's describing how the Lowell Senior Center was being used as a warming center.
Hi, I'm Fire Chief Jeff Winward from the Lowell Fire Department, and we're here at the Senior Center today, and under the direction of City Manager Kevin Murphy, we've decided to open a warming station for any homeless people or people that don't have any heat to come by and get warmed up this weekend. We have the center open from 3 o'clock this afternoon, Friday, until 8 o'clock Monday morning. And we'll be open 24 hours because of the extreme cold and the wind chills. And we encourage anyone that might be living out on the street to come in and warm up and maybe get a cup of coffee and get themselves out of the cold.
So in its most basic sense, this is what a warming and cooling center looks like. And around the country, cities will designate a lot of different types of spaces as warming and cooling centers. The city of Boston, for example, partners with the Boston Centers for Youth and Families to use their spaces. They also use senior centers and one of the YMCAs. And in Chicago, there are nearly 300 warming and cooling centers, including public libraries, city colleges, police stations, and senior centers. In other words, there are cities that have figured this problem out. So now that we have a basic understanding of what kinds of spaces get used, let's turn our conversation to Lowell specifically. Over the last few months, residents have been calling on the city council to identify eligible spaces so that we have more than just one or two warming and cooling centers in the city. So let's take a look at what a few of us had to say.
I'm here today to speak on a petition from LAMA, Solidarity Lowell, and Merrimack Valley Project supporting more warming and cooling centers in the city. Over the course of one weekend, we amassed about 160 signatures from people who live, work, and regularly spend money in Lowell who agree that these new resources need to be expanded.
Right now, the very least we can do in the city of Lowell is protect people from extreme dangerous weather conditions. Expanding our cooling and warming centers is a small but meaningful first step in the right direction.
Making sure these folks don't die in the cold and the heat is the bare minimum we can do. 1 or 2 locations for warming centers is not enough and has been tried in the past. These folks need multiple spots that are accessible and open 24 hours, preferably with services to assist them. And this includes folks who are struggling from drug and alcohol addiction.
Having multiple centers with extensive hours and with access to sanitary facilities should be the first threshold of our humane response.
So I think the messaging from advocates is pretty clear. We need another building so that we can have more heating and cooling centers. So next, let's take a look at how different city councilors have approached this issue. We'll start with councilors Vesna Noon and Wayne Jeunesse, who have been championing this issue on the council in the last few months.
I want to thank all the speakers and those who wrote to us as a council. Appreciate them, but also appreciate the cities as well. The city has been actively working with our partner to house the unhoused. I also see the opportunity when I put these motions, the opportunity to do more. And that's why I asked the managers and his team to identify either existing location and or new location for the cooling and warming center.
So it makes me really happy to see that Councilor Noon is listening to what people are asking for. Next, we're going to look at Wayne Jeunesse as he explains why we need more than just the one space right now, which is currently the senior center.
And I know that our existing use of the senior center has impacted their ability to do their programming on occasion. And, the seniors need that space as well. So figuring a way that we can all work together, be able to make sure that these resources are available when they're needed.
Next up, some nice words from Councilor Rita Mercier.
Very, very passionate speakers. Made me almost cry because I do see when I go to work at the South Common, there are people sleeping out there in the cold with the top over them. I'm even cold in the house and they're sleeping outside. Something really has to be done. This is a very powerful motion, whether people realize it or not. When I think of the speakers and what they said and the situation that we have in the city, I think of the words in the Bible where Jesus said, "What you do to the least of them, you do also to me."
Okay, we started off with some of the more supportive responses, but I hate to break it to you, not everyone is on board. Here is City Manager Tom Golden.
The city is also, obviously, and the council knows this, moving forward with creating Summer Street, which is going to be housing, permanent housing. To say that the city's not doing anything is just wrong. To characterize the city of Lowell as not doing enough, I would have to push back, and I'm going to push back strongly on that, given the fact of what has been happening.
I understand that the city manager may be feeling called out. I know that the city is doing a lot to combat homelessness, but I'm an English teacher and I want to label a straw man fallacy when I see it. And we can see in this case, he's misrepresenting our argument. It's as if he's saying that we're just pointing fingers and saying, you're not doing anything. And that's not the argument, right? If people are still losing limbs because of extreme cold, that means that whatever your current policies are not enough. There's still a problem that we need to solve. Next up, we will hear from my city councilor, as well as the mayor, Daniel Rorick. Now, it's subtle, but see if you can notice the slippery slope fallacy he throws in there.
If we want to have the manager run down everything that him and his team does for the homeless in our neighborhoods in our city, we'll be there for the next hour to do it. We've asked people before, have they turned anybody down? The answer is always no. I can answer Councilor Scott's question. Nobody gets turned down to your shelter. So what we want to do, we want to give everybody a house, 3 cars, a fence, and a dog, and then we'll cut the grass too. Right. See, this is agenda driven. That's all it is.
He's onto us. He found out about the agenda. Yes, the agenda. To make sure that no one dies in extreme weather. Next, Councilor Gitchia will find himself complaining that too many people spend their time advocating for the homeless.
I don't understand it. Why, if there's a positive way, as Councilor Jeunesse said, to come forward and do this stuff, I would agree 100% with it. But when people stand up here and say we're phasing things out and they're taking the shots at everybody, it's the same people over and over again. It's the same people over and over again that send us the emails in the thing, and it's the same thing over and over again. It's one group who sends out, please get down to the council meeting.
Okay, I know, I'm bumming us all out here, so let's allow Councilor Jeunesse to bring some clarity back to this conversation.
I don't think anyone who spoke here tonight, either from the public or on the council, is saying that this administration isn't doing anything or isn't trying to help. I've heard that alluded to, and I don't think that's the message, and I don't think anyone thinks or feels that. This motion is a very specific thing about a very specific aspect of the life of the unhoused during extreme temperature events.
All right, next up, Councillor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know you frustrate, Mr. Mayor. As you said, Mr. Mayor, my heart is in the right place. At no point do I say that this administration and our partner not do anything about it. I frame it as we have been actively working with our partner to house the unhoused. I simply ask that we identify, and having a location and having a policies in place. I understand that our partner do their part, but I also got the same report, Mr. Mayor, that there are approximately 80 or plus that was not housed, either because they do not want to be housed or because I don't know the reason for it, Mr. Mayor. But I refuse to believe that those 80 somewhat that was not unhoused, whether that during the cold, do not want or want to be out there. And that's my concern. That really is my concern. So I simply ask her to identify it into a location for the warming and cooling, and having a policies and work with our partners.
Sounds simple enough to me. Hopefully the council agrees.
Mr. Mayor, roll call.
Mayor Rourke.
No.
Councilor Scott.
No.
Councilor Yem.
No.
Councilor Chow.
No.
Councilor Dakota.
No.
Councilor Gitchia.
No.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
No.
Motion fails.
As you can see, there's a lot to be done to find new locations for warming and cooling centers. If you're interested in making that a reality, you can reach out to LAMA, or Lifting Lowellians Assistance and Mutual Aid, by calling 978-222-7877, or contact Solidarity Lowell by going to solidaritylowell.com, open the contact page, and fill out the form to send an email. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you around.